In the American system of government, elected officials have to have undivided loyalty to the American people. That's why we've got the emoluments clause. No presents, no emoluments, no offices, no titles from foreign governments. That's why we swear an oath to the Constitution of the United States of America. Each one of us who has the great honor and privilege of coming to Washington to represent the people, we swear an oath to our Constitution, to our people. We're not a country like so many that are defined by one religion. We're not defined by one race. We're not defined by one ethnicity. We're not defined by one political party. We're not defined by one political ideology. We're defined by one Constitution. That's what unifies us as Americans. We must be constitutional patriots here and insist upon our constitutional values and the rule of law for democracy to be meaningful in the 21st century. There's a new model of tyrannical government traveling all over the world. And all the bullies and despots have found each other. They're in league together. They want government as a money-making operation. They want government as a money-making operation for private elites in their country, whether it's in Russia or the Philippines or Saudi Arabia, or sad to say, we're starting to see the development of that right here in the United States of America. So we have the opportunity, we have the responsibility to exercise our rights as citizens under the First Amendment and to exercise our privileges as members of Congress under the Speech and Debate Clause to speak up against the march of tyranny all over the earth. We've got an obligation to resist the corruption, the same corruption that the people in Russia were marching against on Sunday. And we must demand real answers about what took place in our presidential election in 2016. The intelligence agencies warned us that what happened in 2016 was a dress rehearsal for what's going to happen next time and the time after that. And I want to say something about the geopolitics of this. Think about it for a second. Who's got the strongest economy on earth? We do. The freest, the original democracy, we've got the strongest economy. Who's got the strongest military? We do. Russia can't come close. But the way I understand what happened in 2016 was that Vladimir Putin, who is not an honest man, but he's a clever man, decided that this was a moment of opportunity for Russia. You know, he's the former chief of the KGB. Let's not forget that. He's a guy who said that the greatest catastrophe of the 20th century was the collapse of the Soviet Union. Okay? He is an irredentist imperialist who wants to go back and reconstruct the Russian Empire. But what he saw was an opportunity, which is that today the whole world is linked, and it's linked by the internet. And he created something that I think of as like a Manhattan Project, military conquest and defeat of the liberal democracies in the 21st century. He set about to figure out this question: how can we undermine and subvert the liberal democracies? These are open societies. America's an open society. We pride ourselves on the First Amendment, on freedom of speech, on free dialogue and discussion. So he says to himself, how can I subvert and undermine them? And the answer became very clear: to create, really on the cheap, because compared to military might, this is pennies on the dollar. He was going to create an internet army, in effect, to try to undermine and subvert our democracy with fake news, with propaganda, with paid trolls, to get information out to try to destroy the reputations of opposition politicians, to try to promote the parties that he viewed as within his camp. And guess what? It's still going on today. It's still happening. We're not talking about ancient history. We're talking about an ongoing project. That's why I am proud to be a member of the minority caucus here, the the Democratic Party caucus, which is insisting that we create an independent, objective, neutral 9/11-style commission to investigate the Russian connection and what happened with the attack on American democracy in 2016. We've got to get to the bottom of it. 2/3 of the American people in public opinion polls say that they support such a commission. There's nobody who would oppose it except for somebody who's got something to hide. But for the rest of us, we have every reason to get to the bottom of this plot to destroy the election in 2016, and we have every reason to defend this great constitutional democracy with everything we've got.